Hey guys, Castar, got another video for you today, another deck profile. This one's going to be on my Spikes Brothers deck. I really like Spikes a lot. Very heavy rush. Tend to play a quick game, as quick as possible in the meta now. Really heavy hitting every turn, especially with the new cards they got out now. Their new support, although they were good enough already. My deck is a little strange. A lot of people don't run it because of the fact that it's a little restrictive. Mainly the grade 3s. But the rest of the deck is wide open, rush, attacking as much as you can, as hard as you can. You just gotta know when to do it and how you're gonna get to it, especially with the limited soul charging in Spikes Brothers. So to start off, my starting Vanguard is Mecha Trainer. Really no reason not to run Mecha Trainer. There are other grade 0s you can run for starters, but Mecha Trainer is the best. He works exactly like Conroe, that he returns to the rear guard when you ride him with the Spike Brothers, and then you counterblast one and you retire him, and then search for a grade 1 or less card and call it from the deck, put it in your hand. Which is important because you can use it to call a perfect guard, for example. Put it in your hand for guarding later, or you can use it to superior call something important you need. Good booster or medical manager if you're lacking for soul charging. For triggers, run 4 draws, because Lord knows Spikes needs the draws. No hand advantage whatsoever in this deck, really. It's all about playing cards, getting high power, and then sending them back to the deck and seeing them again later. 4 heals, and then we'll run 8 critical triggers, because stands are kind of useless in this deck, especially since if you attack with rear guards, you're definitely sending them back. There's really no point to attack with the rear guard and not send it back to the deck if you can help it. Because of the way that the mechanic of Spike Brothers has turned out nowadays. Because it's all about sending stuff back to the deck and then calling more stuff to the field in place of that, rather than standing the cards that you have on the field. Looking at grade 1s, have 2 Chico Maryland Perfects, old art. I actually got them out of a set of cards that my friend bought on eBay, because he owed me some stuff and I wanted to build Spikes, and he gave me the old art Perfects. I like new art Sugar Maryland much better though. For Wonder Boys, 8K Vanilla Booster. Got for Medical Manager, important, call to the field, and you soul charge 1 whenever he's placed. Then my last 4 grade 1s are Deadly Phantoms. Excellent card. Wonder Boy's just a good booster, good ride. Medical Manager is the preferred ride, so that you could start off with that +1 to soul. And then if you can get him out of the deck any other way, Mecha Trainer is another good way. Like I said earlier, he soul charges 1. Really, if you get at least 2 or 3 of him in game, the rest of the deck will kind of set up the soul for you. I run 4 Deadly Phantoms because he's an excellent booster. He boosts any Spike Brothers unit for 10k total, and then he returns to the bottom of the deck. Really nice with Spikes to add to that extra power, especially if you're hitting for 21 or something. If you run the Break Ride card, then Deadly Phantom is great to give that extra level of power. I run him at 4 because really it's great. Since he shuffles back, you'll see him a lot more often, especially late game when you need the heavy hitting boosters. You can call him early game with Mecha Trainer if you feel like your game is going well with Soul. Alternately, you can run him 3 and then run 3 perfects, but really perfect guards are kind of unnecessary in this deck because of the fact that you don't have hand advantage, so most of the time, although you do want perfects for guarding high numbers, you don't want too many because then you're dropping more cards from hand, and there will be times when you're stuck with just a perfect guard and you can't guard anything that turn. So I think 2 perfects works just fine for me, especially since you can usually just grab her at least 1 copy with Mecha Trainer. And then that leaves you able to run Dudley Phantom at 4 copies so that you can see him as much as possible the entire game and really get the benefit of his power boost. Looking at my grade 2s, I have probably what's a pretty standard setup for any deck for Spike Brothers now. Have 4 copies of the Dudley Mason card, new card, great and amazing for Spikes. I'll get to him in a second. 4 copies of High Speed Bracky, Brack Attack, I like to call him, because boy does he attack. And then Blow Kiss Olivia at 3 copies, just because she's not as necessary as Dudley Mason and Bracky, especially since you'd prefer to ride Dudley Mason at all costs, so you can get that +1 attack during your grade 2 ride, or just so that way you don't miss out on riding something like Bracky that you'd rather Soul Blast on rear guard and send back to the deck. That's the only thing about Spikes Brothers, is that you have to ride specifically, especially the higher you go up in grades, because other things are best used on rear guard only. So, again, Dudley Mason, Wonder Boy, your main grade 3, Medical Manager, all things you're going to want to play specifically on Vanguard so that you don't end up using stuff like Bracky or Dudley Phantom or something like that that you have to ride because you don't have anything else. Blow Kiss Olivia's skill, she's a new card. You Soul Blast 2 when her attack hits a Vanguard, and you can kill one of your opponent's front row rear guards and put her on the bottom of the deck. So she's a little more costly. She doesn't gain any power, but she's much better than Zachary, who some people used to run. That was a 9k Soul Blast 1 return to the deck to draw a card. She really just puts a lot more pressure, especially with all the powerful stuff that you can do to rear guards with the Break Ride card that's out now. High Speed Bracky, I'm sure most of you guys know him. Soul Blast 1, and he gains plus 5,000 in power and then returns to the deck. Great power attacker. He can attack by himself. Again, like I said earlier, the keys about using skills like High Speed Brackies is that you have to know when to use it to put on the pressure, so that way you don't use it to rush as early as possible when they're probably going to take the damage anyways, and then end up with them him not doing much late game because you can't Soul Blast or Soul Blast for other cards because of the fact that you used up the soul too early. Finally, to Dudley Mason. He's a great card. He's new in this new set 10 that came out recently. You counterblast 1, and you choose a Spike Brothers from your hand and put in your soul. So again, adds to the soul, which is great, but takes a card from hand. And when his attack hits a Vanguard, if you have a Spike Brothers Vanguard, which usually will be him on grade 2, you may pay the cost, and if you do, you search for a Spike Brothers from your deck and call it to an open rear guard. So you can call something like Bracky, or Juggernaut Maximum is grade 3 that does exactly what Bracky does, call Juggernaut, or you can call a booster to the field, pluses your field 1, or gives you an extra high-powered attack like Bracky or something, especially if you know your opponent can't guard that turn. That's a great strategy. Dudley Mason is really an excellent card for the deck, an excellent way to add to your ability to call stuff to the field to replace stuff that you've sent back, so you can keep chaining the attacks over and over again. Looking at grade 3s now, I have 4 Juggernaut Maximums, and then my main grade 3 is Grateful Catapult, which I run at 4 copies. This is where the deck gets restrictive, like I was talking about earlier. I basically have to run Juggernaut because Skydiver can trap you into having to keep him on field. And plus Skydiver requires you to call a card, again, from your hand to the field after you soul charge him, so it takes more out of your hand. So Juggernaut's really all I've got because I can't run the Break Ride, since with Grateful Catapult skill being Persona Blast, that would require me to, in a perfect game, start off the game with my grade 1 ride, grade 2 ride, the Break Ride card and 2 copies of Grateful Catapult, so that way I could pull off my ultimate finish. And that really doesn't happen, and if it does happen, especially with Spike Brothers, you're basically going to be rushed to 5 damage by the time you get to grade 3 because you'll have no other choice. So it's impossible to set up Break Ride with Grateful Catapult. He's very cheap though, and I do like him because unlike Dudley Emperor, who is excellent with Break Ride, Counterblast 2, put 2 cards from hand and soul to call 2 cards from your deck. Grateful Catapult does it for a Persona Blast and Counterblast 2, so you're not plussing the soul like you would, but you're not losing hand advantage. It's an equal trade in the sense that you don't lose any guarding, but you have to basically get rid of any thought of running the Break Ride with this deck because of the fact that it's just near impossible to get the combo off. So Juggernaut Maximum first. He loses 2,000 if you don't have another Spike Brothers card on the field. And his main skill is a Soul Blast 1 for plus 5,000 power, then return to the deck. It's really nice to use Grateful Catapult skill to call him, especially if you have copies of Deadly Phantom in the back row, because then you can hit for 21, 26. If you've got any triggers, that's great also, because then you're hitting for 31 with Soul Blast. So Juggernaut's good for a call, send back to the deck, bring the pain. He works good with Safe Read, just for the fact that you're going to be calling a good grade 3. Another good cheap combo that can work with Break Ride is using Safe Read. In fact, my friend uses this exact same deck build that I have, and then he runs Safe Read with Break Ride instead of running Deadly Emperor. So that can work, and it does work well. He's won several times with it against me and in tournaments, so very good build. Spike's very aggressive, especially with the Break Ride giving you 10k on Vanguard and then 10k to any front row rear guards that attack. On to Grateful Catapult skill. Grateful Catapult is Limit Break 4, so you have to be at Limit Break. He's Counterblast 2, and discard a copy of himself, so Persona Blast, and when he attacks a Vanguard, you pay that cost. And then when he attacks, you search your deck for 2 Spike Brothers and call them to open rear guards. So again, Counterblast 2, Persona Blast, search for Juggernaut Maximums, Brackies, boosters even, anything that you need to pull your game-ending turn. And Grateful Catapult's more defensive, I think, because of the fact that not only is he the only 11k defending Vanguard that they have, well, main Vanguard anyways, but since he is Counterblast 2 Persona Blast, you save hand, and his skill isn't as limited to a final turn type of thing, that if you do draw into Grateful Catapult in multiple copies and you have the open Counterblast, which you might, you can do his skill twice. So that way you can kind of sit on it and keep chaining the plus your field instead of calling from hand effect, if that's what you prefer to do. Although Spikes is more of an all-out rush deck and not really a defensive deck. So that's the build, guys. I hope you like it. I hope you play it. Spikes is a fun deck, not necessarily this build. Maybe the better build with Break Ride and Dudley Emperor if you have more money to spend on that. If not, Safe Read, like I said before, is a good idea also. You can like and subscribe below, comment anything that you want to see done in another video, Vanguard tutorials, or hoping to start videoing some matches soon, maybe doing commentary on that. But anything that you'd like to see, any other decks built, or anything like that, comment below and let me know.